my concern that there is a potential for foreign interference in our upcoming elections. And so I'd like to ask if you have already set up, or you're planning to set up the ESG to ensure that there is no foreign interference in our upcoming elections.
Hey, Senator, we certainly share your concern, and we're always looking, as you would expect us to, for any type of foreign activity that would undermine our democratic process. And as we discussed, we are postured and ready to support, as required or tasked, in making sure that we safeguard our elections.
Well, do you have an ESG set up for this purpose?
Senator, I don't know that an ESG has been established yet, but we are prepared to as required.
Well, we used to have ESG, and see, I think you can understand why I'm concerned, because there's no reason not to anticipate foreign interference in our elections, i.e. Russia, China, possibly Iran, although they're being, maybe they have other things to deal with. But do you anticipate foreign interference with our upcoming elections?
Senator, I think it's reasonable to expect, based on what we've seen in the past. That,
And so I think it is really important to set up an ESG, and I will follow up with you on whether that is happening. And will you commit to zealously guarding our elections this year, and report to Congress any attempts by this administration to polarize the process?
Senator, we will certainly execute what we're tasked to in regards to that.
Yeah, I realize that you have a responsibility regarding foreign interference with our elections, but there is definitely efforts to domestically interfere with our elections by, for example, having the former Attorney General sue 29 states for voter rolls. These are millions of people's information. What does the Department of Justice need with this information? What do they intend to do? And not to mention the desire to push for the passage of the so-called SAVE Act, which will result in millions of people who are currently registered to vote unable to register to vote because they don't have either a birth certificate or passport. So there are things happening on the domestic front, and that's why I have some serious concerns. For Admiral Bradley, one of SOCOM's enduring competitive advantage, and you mentioned how important our allies are in great power competition, is its network of allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific, built over decades through sustained engagement, training, and interoperability. Given the increased demands for homeland defense and ally burden sharing in the new NDS, how are you increasing SOF's posture and presence in the first and second island chains to deter Chinese aggression and support Admiral Paparo's denial defense?
Senator, thank you. As you know, General Fenton was very strong on leading to adjust our posture over the last 4 years to be able to to empower those generational relationships. And thanks to both chambers, frankly, but your strong work, we are well resourced with people in the right structure to be able to sustain that presence and that commitment while we manage the ongoing threats to the homeland and the other commitments that we have.
Okay, I'm glad that some of you already talked about the importance of having the kind of workforce that is trained to deal with the needs of the cyber domain. And General Wood, you mentioned that it is really critical to get the right kind of people. What are the right kind of people that you're hoping to recruit to be trained in the cyber domain?
Yeah, thanks, Senator. As you would expect, someone who's highly technical minded, smart, innovative, motivated, and is committed to doing something extraordinary.
Do you have a number goal? I mean, how many thousands of people are we going to need who have this kind of training to counter the malign activities of our near peer competitors?
Yeah, Senator, I think we have objectives that are outlined within Cybercom 2.0, but I think what I owe this committee and frankly the nation is a continuous assessment to make sure that we have the right numbers. And to your opening point, that they're the best, most highly qualified talent, and that we can make sure that we can upgame them through training and through the mechanisms that'll make this enduring.
General, if you could quantify that on the record by supplementing your answer, we'd appreciate it.
Chairman, I certainly will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hirono. Senator Scott.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank each of you for joining us here today. It is critical that the U.S. is always ready to deter any threats. One big way is by working with our allies and partner nations to solidify our coordinated efforts to ensure security around the world, even in places where we don't have our own troops readily stationed. Admiral Bradley, how do foreign military sales programs enhance U.S. military-to-military relationships in the Indo-Pacific and globally?
Senator, foreign military sales, direct commercial sales, and the like are all critical to us being able to have expectation of interoperability and expectation of what our allies and partners will be able to perform when they act on their own behalf. That, in turn, gives us a much better ability to understand what their weaknesses might be or what gaps that might need to be filled by U.S. contributions. And so, as you highlight, even in places where we are not present in all times or all ways, knowing what they are using, how they're using it, gives us that extra advantage.
So you know their capability, and you also, if you're ever going to work with them, you know how to operate with them.
Yes, sir.
What risk do we face to access and influence if we fail to work well with our allies and remain a reliable and timely defense partner compared to competitors like Communist China?
Well, Senator, in all cases, placement and access is a corollary to understanding. And so being on the ground with those out on the edge of the territory to be able to appreciate the context of what's happening helps to inform our decision-making in the rear and throughout the chain of command. So I believe that it is fundamental to our ability to know not only when we should act, but how we should act. And that is a partnership that we see play out across the world, not just in the Indo-Pacific. For instance, in Ecuador recently, some really good operational results informed by our Ecuadorian partners to help us choose which and how to target adversaries there. But that, of course, is just an instance that has been played out over the last 25 years across the Middle East, Africa, across Europe as well. And I believe the same analog applies globally.
Admiral Bradley and Assistant Secretary Anderson, how does the forward presence of U.S. Special Operations Forces contribute